Microsoft and Qualcomm. So in the past few weeks, MediaTek has been expressing interest in building their own ARM chips that can run Windows. Turns out there's a snag. And as XDA developers reported, the reason that we've only seen Qualcomm Windows PCs is because Microsoft and Qualcomm have an exclusivity deal. The sources say it is set to expire soon, with no known date, but that would explain why we've only seen Qualcomm-powered devices since they were first announced by the two companies in 2016. Maybe a 5-year agreement? Let's hope. The end of this agreement could mean Windows ARM licensing could be opened up to a lot more chips, including potentially Apple Silicon. That was something that was extremely disappointing to me about the Apple Silicon Macs, was that if you wanted to run Windows, even though Microsoft had an ARM version, you couldn't do it unless you wanted to, actually, is there a way to do it through like emulation? I don't know. Does Parallels have a solution for that? You guys will have to let me know in the chat. I don't daily drive a Mac, so there hasn't been any reason for me to solve this problem. Wow, that's a real drag and a half. I mean, I guess I kind of get it, because if I was Microsoft and I desperately needed some kind of silicon, apparently Snazzy Labs has done it. Yeah, there you go. Yes, you can Parallels it. If I was desperate for there to be some kind of silicon for me to even, continue to develop my Windows ARM software on, to have any, reason for it to exist at all, then I might make a deal like that. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Apparently Parallels with Windows for ARM is fantastic. Okay, good to know. So see, the problem with ARM Windows for me is it's just one of those like why things.
Yeah.
Like the only reason that I daily drive Windows, aside from familiarity, which honestly is not that big of a deal, like I do such basic things outside of my web browser now anyway, that it kind of doesn't matter. So the only reason for me to daily drive Windows is gaming. And if I was going to game, ARM is clearly not a reasonable option.
Yeah.
And if I was not going to game, then I think based on everything we learned from the Linux challenge, I would probably just, I was perfectly happy with Manjaro KDE other than gaming.
You're spoiling the next episode a little bit.
Oh, well, I guess a little bit, but
A little bit.
I don't know. Maybe it's not that bad to spoil it a little bit, since people are so outraged about the streaming episode.
People are a little cheesed about that
People
one.
are a little cheesed.
The next episode is, can I say what it is, I guess?
Yeah, go for it.
The next episode is like random productivity tasks.
Yeah.
So non-gaming tasks that you do.
There's a 12-page thread on the forum about
Wow.
the second episode, and I replied to it at one point. I was like, people keep saying that the problems that I had are related to my exotic hardware. Other than my Go XLR, what about my hardware is exotic?
Go XLR isn't exotic either.
That has caused any problems? I'll wait. And people launched into these explanations of how my hardware is exotic. But where they never managed to get to was how it caused any of the problems that I actually had.
Yeah.
And to be clear, the Elgato lights, for example, I never presented that as a problem because my workaround for it was very easy. I didn't have to solve anything. I just used my phone. Most of my problems, like in my raw doc, did I ever share that raw doc with you?
No, actually.
That's just my
I haven't technically. Yeah.
my thoughts document.
Well, we weren't supposed to see each other. So
Right,
We
right,
both
right.
have one, right? Yeah.
The vast majority of my issues in my doc have nothing to do with that I'm running a Threadripper and therefore the people who develop Linux, they're just using their own hardware and they wouldn't necessarily be able to test on that.
Did you grow your own CPU, Linus?
I never said they did. I never said anything about any of that.
Most things have not been.
I never
problems.
said it had any stability problems. The problems were just that everything's a chore.
I've been kind of following along on the. I have never mentioned that I've even known this existed, but I guess people probably knew. I've been following along on the Mint forums.
I see. Yeah.
Because my brain went to average user, right? So I was like, because especially at the beginning,
Yeah.
but throughout the whole thing, we weren't allowed to like ask for help. etc.
Yeah.
So if I had a problem, one of my things was like, well, I don't know. I'd probably go back to the thing that I got. So I went on Mint's website and I was like, there's a forum. This all seems like things that I would maybe do. So I went to the forum and started poking around. And then I started noticing after we posted one video that there was a thread about the video on the Mint forums. And I was like, oh, I'm going to see what people are saying. They've actually been decently nice.
R/Linux has been surprisingly.
There's both sides for sure. But yeah, they've been
anything that
overall pretty
manages
chill.
to get any kind of upvote momentum has
Yeah.
been mostly like, yeah, we understand the spirit of where this is coming from. And there's also, I'm seeing a bit of a tide turn in some of the sentiment anyway, where people are saying, hey, you know, all of the problematic things that you might find about this aside, this has already generated discussion and improvements to the experience. So for better or for worse, Linus and Luke were 100% successful
Hey,
in what they were trying to do,
got him.
which was to go in as people who have not tried to daily drive Linux for gaming and talk about the experience.
Yeah.
Generate discussion, and hopefully turn that into something that will become better in the future if it isn't already good now, which it isn't.
I mentioned a while ago that I pivoted my work laptop.
Yep.
I pivoted it to, I'll finally say it now, I left it vague last time. I went to Ubuntu
Oh, okay.
because I was like, you know what? I said I didn't want to use Ubuntu
Try the vanilla.
because
Try vanilla. You know, it's a good flavor.
It is a good flavor. I said that I didn't want to use it because I don't like GNOME 3.
Yeah.
But I had never used GNOME 3.
You hater. What a hater.
But exactly.
Way to
so I
hate.
was like, I'm going to go use it.
Hater's gonna hate,
And
hate.
Honestly,
hate,
GNOME 3's fine. I still think I prefer Mint.
Yeah.
And the cinnamon experience and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I'm probably going to pivot my laptop again. But like, it's been completely fine.
I'm just a creature of habit, and there was nothing about KDE that super offended me. So
Yeah.
if I was going to go Linux again, the number of people that are like, and all your problems because you chose Arch. Well, like, hold on a second. The amount of criticism I've taken for going with Manjaro is kind of mind-blowing, especially because
interesting.
Manjaro has not really caused any of my problems.
No.
I mean, they saw some of my early struggles figuring out that apt was not a thing on Manjaro,
Which
I just didn't know, because every guide you find for anything
most
is
of them are
like
Debian based.
apt get whatever. And so I was apt get. I mean, once I figured out Pamac was a thing, and Pacman was a thing, I was like, this is great. I've got my graphical version and I've got my command line terminal version. And so I will just do this from now on. So these are all things that I figured out, but Manjaro did not cause any of my problems. And I don't think that it was an entirely unreasonable thing for me to do, because the rationale was, well, my number one choice didn't work out for reasons that the OS maker has admitted were not entirely my fault. And the upstream has admitted was not entirely my fault. Fixes have been applied for what happened to me, not by me. So my first choice didn't work out. My second choice was, well, I know that SteamOS 3.0 is going to be an Arch derivative. So maybe some of the work that Valve is doing on Proton or Steam compatibility layer or whatever they call it, maybe that would also be applicable in some way to an Arch-alike. So I'm going to try that because it also came highly recommended. Those were the main things that I was thinking about. My number one didn't work out. Maybe something Arch-based would be a better bet in some way, because and that's another thing too, is like what's supported. So I had already gone for the Ubuntu based, and it was a big problem for me. So I was like, well, the other main sort of
thing
branch,
that we're at least aware of, yeah.
And the one that Valve obviously chose for some reason for gaming is Arch. So I was like, I'm not going to try to tackle Arch itself, by the way. So I'm just going to try this, like, I'm going to try Arch with training wheels. And honestly, it was fine. So none of my problems were really specific to a distro, in my opinion. Yes, I had problems with Dolphin, but I would have probably found problems with the default application choices in any distro, and I would have probably found problems with cohesion in any distro, because those are Linux desktop problems
And I
that
think
definitely exist.
I think another problem that's going on is some people in the community, I think, are ignoring the fact that we would complain about Windows too. And
Yeah.
we've brought this up a couple times. Like we're not going like Windows is perfect,
No.
therefore these things suck. It's just
But these things can suck, and Windows can suck.
yes,
Everything can suck.
everything can be imperfect.
Yeah. I mean, there are things I hate about. I've actually literally uploaded videos of just lists of things I hate about operating systems. Windows more recently, but oh man, back when we did that series of 10 reasons Mac OS is just better and 10 reasons Windows is better,
Yeah.
the number of people that interpreted Mac OS being better to mean that Windows is worse or vice versa, just because something has something better doesn't mean that it is better. Like the point I'm trying to make is things can be good and things can be bad, and that doesn't inherently make the other thing good or the other thing bad.
Yeah.
It just means that if we're being objective, anything has lots of stuff about it that is crap and lots of stuff about it that is good. And that's okay. Like Luke and I had a super frustrating Windows gaming experience last night where, and I don't know who to blame. Could be Microsoft, could be Valve, could be whoever the developer is for Towerfall. I don't know. But we were having issues with remote play, trying to play Towerfall with my kids locally and Luke remotely. And we just couldn't get 4 controllers working properly without one of them either not working at all or one of them controlling 2 players at the same time.
Or even 3.
3. And I would say that that's a crap experience. That's a crap user experience.
And to contrast this, just
Yeah.
in case you weren't going to go there, we played Towerfall through remote play on Linux flawlessly and immediately.
with 3 players,
Fair.
which worked perfectly last night too. It was the 4th player that was causing trouble.
Did it work perfectly right away? I don't think so.
I still had. Okay, no. The first issue we had was that it seems like I think like Yvonne's Thunderbolt dock died or something. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So that was unrelated.
No, but I mean, even once you had like gone
3.
downstairs.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
So
Sorry.
yeah, there's bad experiences everywhere.
Yeah.
And I guess the point of the series was, can you switch today as the average gamer? And the answer is, well, the answer is complicated.
The
So
answer is complicated.
the answer is complicated. Apparently, the GoXLR for Linux project added better installation instructions. That's pretty cool. So, I've seen some criticism that I was too hard on what is obviously a grassroots community project. I mean, I don't think I hated on them, but the experience wasn't very good. And for better or for worse, the experience is now better because of what I said. Apparently, the developer agrees. Like, oh, I see your point. I guess I could make this better. And now it is better. So that's why reviewers exist. That's why critics exist. So it's not that I'm trying to be a jerk about it. My job going into this was to evaluate it. And that's why we had said I think it was last week on When Show, we had said maybe a cool follow-up would be to go in and experience Windows fresh.
Yeah.
Now, I just threw my old drive back in because I just wanted to play some video games and not think about it for a little bit. But I intend to put a fresh drive in, start from scratch, and review Windows.
I'd do it too. Are we?
Yeah.
There's the 2 different version potential as well. Windows 10 and Windows 11.
I'm going to go Windows 11.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go Windows 11, and I'm going to have the
Someone
warts and all.
brought up an interesting argument, and there's some generalizations here, and I noticed that when I first read it. But so I'm going to try to quote, but it's not in front of me, so whatever. But they essentially said no one installs Windows.
That's not true.
People buy a computer, and Windows is on it.
Sure, but that's A, not true, and B, doesn't excuse a bad installation experience.
Yeah.
If it's
But-
a Microsoft product which the installation experience is, then what's the excuse for it being bad? You're a multi tens of billions of dollars company. No, I don't accept that.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, no.
I think the majority of people, well, definitely the majority of people don't.
That's
But
fair.
It's still part of the process.
But it's a Microsoft product. If it's a
Yeah.
Microsoft product, then it should be polished. You're charging me money for it.
Man,
I paid for it.
I think such a substantial part of the Windows video is going to be the amount of things you have to click when you're going through the installation process.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's crazy.
And
Like-
there's just shockingly stupid stuff. Like you go through this whole process, and it's like you install the whole operating system, then you like do all this stuff, then you sit and you wait for like 4 more minutes. Well, it's like, hey, we're setting things
We're
up
setting
for you.
things up for
Well,
you.
what were you doing before?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
And I actually really like, I believe, if I remember correctly, Ubuntu did this, and I know Mint did this, but you do the install, and then there's just a window that you can close if you want. That's all the customization stuff. And Windows does all this forced customization stuff while you're going through the setup.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the Windows version after installing Mint and Ubuntu was so frustrating.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I just wanted to use my damn computer right now, like, why are you stopping me so that I can, make it look green? Like, I don't care. I can do this whenever.
Yeah. This is a
man.
low priority task.
Yeah, yeah.
88 Pocket says Windows 10 Pro needs to drop preloaded crap like Candy Crush. What professional
my
expects or
God.
wants Candy Crush?
Yes, that's so stupid.
100%.
Oh,
100%. Oh, man.
maybe they will. Because Blizzard or Microsoft said that they were thinking about how did they word it? They were going to look at their relationship with Blizzard and like reestablish what they're doing there because of like Bobby Kotick and all the stuff that's going on.
Does Blizzard own King?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize that. Or Activision, I guess.
yeah,
Whatever.
Blizzard Activision.
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
So hopefully that happens. Hopefully, because that is so dumb.
Brutal.